All right, everybody, we are in the final countdown. There are 7 days to go, 1 week until Donkey Kong Bonanza launches, and I am obviously stoked. My channel is named after the game. I am really excited to get my hands on it properly. So in honor of those last 7 days, I've got 7 questions remaining, split between gameplay and story that I still want to know about this game and that we're going to find out soon. If you like this kind of countdown and want me to keep going until the launch of Bonanza, let me know. So that first question that I have is, how long is the game, or how many levels are there? Going off of Super Mario Odyssey, it's got 17 kingdoms, with a few of those being part of the post-game, which we'll talk about more in a second. So my best guess would be something similar for Donkey Kong Bonanza, but the levels are set up a little bit differently for Donkey Kong Bonanza. Each level actually has multiple sub-levels that you dig into. So it might be that there are fewer overall levels that each have their own unique themes, but that each level itself is actually denser and has more bananas. And in terms of the number of bananas, we have seen that there are a ton. There are dozens and dozens per level, just like in Odyssey, and I'm really excited about that. It's been years, and Odyssey is one of my favorite games, but I've still not collected all of the power moons. And having hopefully just as many bananas to collect in Donkey Kong means that I will have something to play with for years to come, and I'm really excited about that. So I mentioned the post game, and that is my second question, is what is the post game like, if there is one? I think we're all expecting some kind of post game. This is how Nintendo provides depth to more experienced gamers and completionists. Based off of Mario Odyssey, that had, the dark side and the darker side and the Mushroom Kingdom, I think that we would expect something like that from Donkey Kong. I'd also hope that there'd be something of a story epilogue, perhaps related to New Donk City from Odyssey, but we're going to talk about the story in a little bit. For Bonanza in particular, I think that there's an opportunity related to the Kong Buddy. We know that Diddy and Dixie are in the game. So far, they seem relegated to mini-games and just environmental NPCs, but I think it would be really fun to unlock them as companions in a post-game. It might be too much to ask of the devs for this to really make a gameplay difference, but it might be a nice aesthetic swap from Pauline if you're able to bring along one of your Kong buddies for the postgame. And the postgame ties into my third question, which is overall replayability. One of the central elements of replayability for Bonanza in particular is the terrain. Nintendo has said that we have some level of control over when the terrain regenerates, but we really don't have a lot of information about that. Will it be persistent as you move from level to level and you have the option to regenerate it when you return, or will it always regenerate whenever you reload a level? That has a lot of implications for the collectathon, but also for some of those sandbox elements. If people are interested in redigging and creating and destroying the terrain just to make weird rock art, which I know we're going to see starting on day one. I'm also wondering if there's going to be a meta progression or achievement system like we saw in Odyssey's Mushroom Kingdom. If so, I hope that it's a little bit less painful to go through all the achievements than just having to click on Toadette over and over again to get all of your extra moons. But that was kind of a new element for these platformers that we saw in Odyssey, and I would expect some return of that in Bonanza as well. Another element of replayability inspired by Super Mario Odyssey would be something akin to Luigi's Balloon World, where players can hide bananas from one another. With how much terrain there is to dig through, it could actually create crazy challenges for players to just uncover what those hidden bananas look like, and that would also increase their replayability. I think it's probably too much to ask for a proper new game plus. That doesn't really seem to be the MO for Nintendo and their action platformers, so I do think the replayability will largely be tied to 100%ing the game, as well as some additional challenge levels that unlock after the story is done. But another element of replayability, and my fourth question, comes down to minigames. Nintendo has made pretty clear that there's some kind of racing minigame with Diddy, Dixie, and Rampy. But I'm wondering if there might be more. Because, of course, Donkey Kong 64 had tons of minigames, which a lot of people malign these days, but I remember fondly. I doubt that they would really copy those minigames one-to-one, but it's a really big part of the tradition that they seem to be trying to pay homage to. So I would expect and hope for some additional minigames, which also provide the possibility of additional replayability by trying to improve your score or your time. And my final gameplay question is about those missing skill trees, and whether or not there are additional transformations for Donkey Kong, or even some additional powers for Pauline. I made a whole video about this, which I will put in the description below, but I'm really excited that Nintendo is holding something back after all of the marketing. I think we were all pleasantly surprised by the transformations that were revealed in the Direct. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And I'm glad that at least 2 of those skill trees remain to have some sort of surprise as we go through the game. I think most people, myself included, are expecting some additional transformations, but as I put in that longer video, I think that there's a good case to make for the possibility of expanding on Pauline's powers as well, and I'm excited to find out what the truth is. So my final 2 questions are related to the story, and the first one is K. Rool in the game? Some wonderful Donkey Kong lore creators have pretty well convinced me of all the evidence pointing to King K. Rool being in the game, but even they admit there's still the strong possibility that all of these crocodile elements and the other fossilized characters are really references to past games, even if those characters don't make a direct appearance in Bonanza. Personally, I'd put the odds at about 80% that we're going to have some sort of crocodile slash Kremlin slash K. Rool twist midway through the story, but we're just going to have to find out. I'm going to leave links to all these videos by channels like Don't Mind Joe, Kong Compendium, and Uncle Al in the description. If you want a deep dive into the intersection between Chinese literature and Donkey Kong, give them a watch and a follow. It's really great. And my final question relates to Pauline. She was supposed to be a surprise for the Direct until the leaked poster, and now she's on equal footing with Donkey Kong as one of the 2 main protagonists. But after all the Pauline refresh in recent years, most notably in Odyssey, the question remains whether Nintendo is trying for a consistent timeline here. Will Bonanza's Pauline grow up to become the mayor of New Donk City? Was the mayor character transported back in time or de-aged by Voidco? And if so, why? And how does it work with the timeline of Donkey Kong Country, with enemies and allies alike seemingly fossilized in Bonanza? While most Nintendo platformers, including Odyssey, are pretty sparse with story and play fast and loose with timelines, the focus on the story and the marketing suggests that the designers are taking the story of Bonanza a little more seriously than most of their Mario games. So I'm excited to see where it leads, even though my main interest is really just in satisfying gameplay. Well, those are my 7 remaining questions to keep me busy for the next 7 days. What questions do you have? Let me know. And subscribe so that we can discover the answers together. I had a lot of fun making this video, so let me know if you want to see more countdowns until the game launches.